So being a coach is a bit like being in the thicket, in the woods with somebody, when they're just surrounded by all of these issues. It could be a person, it could be an organisation, and they see all of these problems and they can't really see a way out. And so part of the job of a coach is really to help them to see a path. It may be a path that already exists and they haven't thought of. And often what happens is you have to get in there in the woods with them and clear a path. And sometimes you do that by cutting stuff down. But in developmental coaching, we try and do something more than that, which is to go down and further into the root of the problem. And when I was asked about this PechaKucha, what are some of the things that you see in common? And the thing for me that's really at the root of a lot of the problems that you see in personal coaching, professional development, leadership coaching, organizational development, it's something that is called the myth of scarcity. This wonderful woman, Lynn Twist, who's an environmental activist, actually, and she wrote a book called The Soul of Money. And she talks about the scarcity. We all wake up thinking, I didn't have enough sleep, I don't have enough time, I don't have the skills, I don't have the capacity, I don't have the resources. And it goes on, it goes on, and it goes on. And this happens whether you're a pessimist or an optimist, actually. It's not just pessimists who think, well, it's only half full, I haven't got enough, things will always better, or things will always, will never be better. But optimists too are caught in this, well, if I could only do this, or if I could only do this, or have more of this, it would be great. And I kind of think of this as over the rainbow thinking. It's this idea that over the rainbow, when I have more of this, the skills, the time, the resources, it's all going to be better. And, with apologies to Marshall Goldsmith, it's what got me here won't get me there. This kind of thinking that I have to develop, and that's great because it brings people into coaching. But the question we have to ask then is, for the sake of what? What do we need to get there for? Because if we're not happy here, if we're not content here, how are we going to be happier there? So at the heart of developmental coaching, we ask this question, for the sake of what do you want to do this? What's your why? What's your purpose? And the wonderful shame and vulnerability researcher, Brené Brown, if you haven't seen her work, please check it out, says that she thinks a lot of this comes from this idea that I am not enough. That when we're caught in this myth of scarcity, actually what we're reflecting on is we're thinking we're not good enough. And she talks about how this shows up differently. And in women, it's perfectionism. So here you have now Dr. Barbie. She has a perfect figure and a medical degree, and her kid is being reared on organic apple juice, and this just makes us look bad. And for men, it shows up a little bit differently, and it's really sort of the same version of the masculine version, which is I'm the strong, capable breadwinner, and I bring everything home, and I have no vulnerability and no weakness. And that's what I need to have in order to connect, in order to be accepted, and in order to be worthy. For those of you who, are not worthy, that's probably right over many of your heads because you're too young. But for those of you who have children, I would say, do you remember with your kids, they're perfect. We were all perfect to our parents. And so how did we become not enough? What happened along the way that we feel that we're not enough? And I'm sure many of you have kids and feel that. So my invitation to you is to start a movement. And I think INSEAD is a perfect place because, let's face it, who does a 10-month degree when other people do a 2-year one? Just enough. Just enough. Maybe sometimes half a glass is just enough. And you can never actually have enough credentials. And what's the danger of that? I've now, I at the 1-month party for my son, people ask me when you get him into Mandarin. Because he's got to get in the right kindergarten, the right school, the right university, the right business school. We know which one that is. We have to do more and more and more so that we can earn more and more and more. And so that we can earn more, have more, we can have more homes, we can have more holidays, we can have more options. And we all know that actually there's no limit on that. And what's the problem with that apart from for ourselves? Well, the problem with that, apart from for ourselves, is that we then start spending and we start consuming. And this isn't actually my shoe cupboard because I didn't have a wide-angle lens, so I'm caught up in this as well. I'm confessing, it's not. we spend, and it's a vicious cycle, because then we need more money, and we need more things. And in the age of globalization, we're exporting that, and so, at a point when, very soon the Earth isn't enough. Right? We do not have the resources to support this sort of story. This story is going to take us to the point where, very soon, probably. And so I love the themes that are emerging tonight, because, it starts with those conversations we're having with ourselves and it ends up there. So my invitation is, don't be satisfied with the stories, how things have gone with others. And I think that's one thing that INSEAD stands for, actually. Let's not just take what's given, and let's not just accept all the myths that are out there. Let's think about doing something differently. And so if I wanted to start a movement to unfold our own myth, then I think INSEAD seems a pretty good place to start it. So I'm inviting all the INSEAD people and all the guests here who aren't INSEAD people to think about this new movement. So we're starting a few movements here tonight, and Olivia as well. So the movement is to think about just enough. So to ask ourselves, what did I have or do, or how was I being today? Eerie sort of echo there to the movement that was just enough, rather than thinking I've got to overachieve and overconsume and overspend. But what did I do that was just enough? So thank you very much for listening. And,